Today, Napheesa Collier went on First Take, and when we're talking women's basketball, you can't help but to bring up Caitlin Clark. It's just the way the world works.
WNBA star Napheesa Collier recently raised concerns about fairness in the scheduling of Caitlin Clark's games and the Indiana Fever's national TV appearances. However, the issue isn't just about equity, it's about what the audience wants. Networks aren't ignoring the Fever. They're actually prioritizing teams like them because viewers are watching. Caitlin Clark's games, in particular, have brought in record-breaking viewership, which has helped boost the league's ratings. This shows that networks pay attention to what fans are interested in, and Clark's popularity is proof of her ability to draw a crowd. By the end of this video, you'll see why Collier's fairness argument misses a key point. Sports broadcasting decisions are heavily influenced by market demand and viewer interest.
Molly Karam, you win the award for the dumbest question of the day. Napheesa Collier, you win the award for the foolish answer of the day. And Stephen A. Smith,
Did you hear Napheesa Collier's recent comments about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever? Her remarks on ESPN's First Take are making waves in the basketball world. Collier, a star for the Minnesota Lynx and vice president of the WNBA Players Association, spoke out about the national TV schedule, raising concerns about fairness and visibility within the league. Her perspective is sparking important discussions, and it's easy to see why people are paying attention.
And Napheesa Collier went on to First Take, and of course, as expected, she was asked about the Fever getting more TV viewers, which is just one of those, obvious things.
The controversy started when it was announced that the Indiana Fever will have 41 out of their 44 games broadcast nationally this season, while the defending champion New York Liberty will have only 32. Instead of acknowledging the simple business reasons behind this decision, Collier responded in a way that left many fans confused. She suggested that the situation seemed crazy and unfair to other teams.
I mean, the reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever. It was literally if I'm not mistaken, it was if you don't count the All-Star game, there was a Las Vegas Aces and Chicago Sky game that, again, was directly before one of the Fever games which had more viewers in it, which was literally right before a Fever game. So a game that led into
The controversy surrounding a game that led into a Fever game wasn't just about the content, it was also about how Collier delivered her message. She started by acknowledging that fans want to watch Caitlin Clark, which makes sense. However, she quickly shifted to saying it was crazy that the defending champions, the New York Liberty, are getting less coverage. Collier appeared to be walking a fine line, recognizing that networks want to showcase Fever games while also hinting at the unfairness of the situation. This left fans confused about where she truly stood.
There are 175 slots. Question, Fee, because you know more than me. How are we able to give more games to other teams without taking away from other teams? How does that work? Please enlighten me.
The effect of Collier's statement was clear when she suggested that other teams should get more TV games without cutting back on the Fever's airtime. This shows a misunderstanding of how TV scheduling works. Networks have a limited number of slots, so it's impossible to add more games for everyone without taking some away from others. It highlights the challenges and complexities of broadcasting logistics.
The WNBA do not decide who's on TV. Let's be there. They make the deal with the WNBA to get certain amount of games on certain days, and whatever, these networks choose who to show.
Stephen A. Smith quickly dismissed Collier's comments, drawing a strong comparison to Michael Jordan's early NBA career. He pointed out that popularity drives viewership, mentioning how the NBA built its brand around Jordan even before he started winning championships. Smith argued that networks aren't showing bias, they're simply responding to market demands and what audiences want to watch.
80s, for example, when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the NBA by storm and they were winning championships, competing for championships, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly particularly down the road. Why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
What's especially confusing is Collier's firm stance, which seems to overlook the realities of the business. Her position suggests she wants equal airtime for all teams, regardless of actual viewer interest. This raises questions about why a veteran player and vice president of the Players Association would take such a stance. Collier's comments hint at deeper tensions within the WNBA, especially between established stars and rising sensations like Caitlin Clark. This situation isn't just about fairness, it's about visibility and attention. Since Clark's rise, the usual hierarchy and distribution of the spotlight among established players have shifted, causing major changes in how attention is shared within the league. These evolving dynamics are leading to some friction among the athletes.
It's an issue. I do think Caitlin's a star. And like I said, people want to see her, and we are trying to grow the league. Like, you need to put on TV the players that people want to see. But kind of what I said before, I don't think raising the level of the other teams has to mean bringing down Caitlin or the Indiana Fever. They should have those amount of games on TV on primetime. But I think other teams should also have more than what they have.
The situation becomes even more interesting when you consider Collier's role as vice president of the Players Association. She's supposed to advocate for the financial interests of all players, but her stance seems to ignore the economic realities that could benefit everyone in the league. The massive TV audiences drawn by Caitlin Clark could lead to bigger contracts for all WNBA players, including Collier herself. Underneath the discussions about fairness and TV scheduling is a simple truth that the VP of the Players Association seems to miss. When it comes to airing WNBA games, networks aren't showing favoritism, they're motivated by financial gains. The numbers don't just tell a story, they make it loud and clear, showing the potential for growth and opportunity within the league.
And like, from a casual perspective, there was 1.5 teams that were good to watch last year. Or 2.5 teams. The Wings were so fun to watch. They were garbage, but they were so fun to watch. The Wings, the Fever, and the Liberty were the only teams from a casual perspective that were good.
Let's take a look at some eye-opening facts that explain why TV executives are so eager to feature Caitlin Clark. Last season, 18 of the top 20 most-watched WNBA games involved the Indiana Fever, with only 2 exceptions, Game 5 of the finals and one Aces Sky matchup that aired before a Fever game. This isn't about favoritism, it's about what the audience is tuning in to watch. The difference in viewership between Fever games and others in the league is not just noticeable, it's huge. When Caitlin Clark plays, viewership often exceeds 1 million, while games without her often struggle to reach 200,000 viewers. That's a 5-fold increase in audience size. Now, if you were a TV executive with the choice between attracting 200,000 viewers or over 1 million, which would you choose if your job depended on it? The answer is clear, and it highlights why networks are simply responding to fan interest, which ultimately benefits the entire league.
So a game that led into a Fever game, no other time when the Sky played the Aces, but the one that led into the Fever game, and it was Game 5 of the finals. That was literally it. They were the only games that had more viewers than Caitlin Clark.
Here's more evidence to consider. The playoff matchup between the Fever and Connecticut attracted 3 million viewers. And let's not forget when Caitlin Clark was still in college, her NCAA tournament games set records, with viewership ranging from 14 to 19 million. These numbers aren't just impressive, they're game-changing. They fundamentally shifted how networks view and approach women's basketball. Such high viewership proves there is a huge demand, and it's compelling networks to prioritize these games more than ever before. The numbers speak for themselves, and it's clear that Clark's presence on the court is driving significant interest in the league.
Because if you look in the way with college basketball and the women's, yeah, the game has not been as big as it was with Caitlin Clark, but there's a lot more viewers in 2023, so you can see there's a positive growth there. And you can see all these positive things. And I think that's the way the WNBA is going.
Here's something Collier and other players need to understand: broadcasting slots are limited. There are only 175 total slots available across all networks for WNBA games, so every decision to air one team means another team misses out. It's a zero-sum game. When ESPN features the Fever on national TV, it's not about personal preference or favoritism towards Caitlin Clark, it's about business. Advertisers pay for viewership, and Clark consistently delivers historic numbers. Networks are businesses that invested in the rights to broadcast these games, and they need to maximize their return. If you're at ESPN and you have to choose between airing a game that attracts 200,000 viewers or one that pulls in over 1 million, the choice is obvious. It's simple math, and the decision practically makes itself. Prioritizing viewership is crucial in this competitive market, and Caitlin Clark is a major draw.
That's how it's done. That's literally how it's done. Caitlin Clark, boom. Well, let's put Caitlin Clark games on as often and as frequently as we can, so advertisers pay us the money to advertise during the Caitlin Clark spot. This is such a simple idea that I think that I'm stupid sometimes.
What's happening here isn't a conspiracy to elevate one player over the others. It's simply viewers making their preferences known through their choices, and networks responding to that demand. This isn't favoritism, it's capitalism at its core. The Fever aren't getting extra airtime because someone in a boardroom thinks they deserve it. They're getting featured because millions of fans tune in when they play, far outpacing other teams' viewership. Here's the twist that changes everything. Those million-plus viewers watching Caitlin Clark are also being introduced to every player she competes against. The idea that Clark is overshadowing her peers misses a crucial point. This isn't a zero-sum game where one player's fame reduces another's. It's an incredible opportunity for growth that benefits the entire league. For example, when the Fever face the Lynx, fans are tuning in to watch Clark, but they're also seeing Napheesa Collier's talent for the first time. This is huge exposure that wouldn't happen otherwise, essentially free marketing on a scale the WNBA has never seen before. This increased visibility can lead to broader recognition and support for all players.
Like, the WNBA is in a position where it's going to grow. And the only reason this league will not grow is because of the players and the old media. If the players in the old media just took their mics away, if they just stopped speaking, this league would skyrocket. And I like Napheesa Collier. I just think this is an incredibly dumb argument.
The difference in mindset among players is becoming more and more apparent. Some see the current situation as a threat, voicing concerns about fairness and TV schedules. On the other hand, there are players who view it as a golden opportunity. For example, when playing against Indiana, they see it as a chance to showcase their skills to 1 million new viewers. These players understand that by impressing Caitlin Clark's audience, they could turn some of them into their own fans. They recognize the importance of using this visibility to grow their personal brands and build a following. Instead of focusing on short-term frustrations, they're thinking strategically about the long game and how to capitalize on the growing interest in the league.
I'm sorry, the NBA did not have the Denver Nuggets on more than the Lakers or the Warriors. When the Denver Nuggets won the championship, they were not on TV more than Steph Curry. Why is this an issue? It's not an issue in any other sport. Like, I'm a Leeds United fan. No matter what, Leeds United are going to be on TV more than any other team in the championship, no matter how or good or bad we are.
This pattern has played out in basketball history before. When Michael Jordan captivated the NBA and dominated the popularity charts, it didn't hurt players like Magic Johnson or Larry Bird. In fact, it elevated the entire league. Jordan's star power didn't diminish his peers, it transformed the NBA into a global phenomenon, which, in turn, raised salaries across the board. The rising tide truly lifted all boats. Similarly, Caitlin Clark's popularity has the potential to do the same for the WNBA. As she attracts larger audiences, she can spark new interest and excitement that benefits not just herself, but her teammates and the entire league. This growing attention could pave the way for more recognition and growth for all players involved.
41 Indiana Fever games on TV. Do you know what that also means? There's 41 games that other teams are playing. There are 41 games on national TV that other teams are playing in that are gonna have over 1 million viewers.
Let's talk about the financial side, which is critical for players' careers. The current WNBA TV deal is around $60 million a year, much smaller compared to the massive deals major men's sports generate. However, with the surge in viewership driven by Caitlin Clark, future TV contracts could potentially climb into the hundreds of millions. This isn't just a theoretical idea, it represents real revenue that could directly increase every player's salary, including Collier. The growing interest in the league could fundamentally shift its financial landscape, ensuring that players get the compensation and recognition they truly deserve for their talent and contributions.
And that's one of the biggest problems, is that if every single, let's just say hypothetically, there was no salary cap, and everyone's made that argument. If every single player in the WNBA got paid $1 million, their salaries went up from 200k to $1 million, and Caitlin Clark got $2 million, they would make that.
This highlights why complaints about fairness in TV scheduling miss the mark. Networks aren't playing favorites, they're simply responding to what the audience wants. Right now, viewers are driving an incredible opportunity to expand the league's fan base, visibility, and financial prospects. Smart players are embracing this trend instead of resenting Caitlin Clark's spotlight. They're positioning themselves to benefit from it. Every nationally televised game against the Fever acts as a valuable advertisement for their skills, personality, and brand. This kind of exposure usually requires millions in traditional marketing, but players can leverage these opportunities to elevate their profiles and boost their career potential in an increasingly competitive landscape.
The way things are right now is the game is growing the way it should have always been growing. And it's people that have been around and in and around the league during the dark days of the league that seem to want it to go back to the dark days.